and I'll be one of your hosts, along with other members of our Professional Development Committee. Joining me today, we have Debbie Brown, Regina Corneal, Angela Gannon, Laureen Kodani, Nicolette Vanderlee, and Joyce Yamada. So this Zoom session is, as we're in our meeting, we're thinking about different Zoom meetings that we could hold for you folks. And we thought it would be good to share some tips on how to work from home effectively and to hear from you what steps you folks are taking while working from home. So we are excited to have a special guest later on in the presentation who will be joining us. So let's get started. And if you folks have any questions, you can feel free to chime in or to post the questions in the chat. So our agenda today is as follows. The first half is going to be our presentation. Each of us will be taking a few slides. In the second half, Tony Rust from HGA will be joining in. He's the Maui Division Chief. And then we'll close it with some Q&A time. So how do we decide when to work, where to work, and how to create boundaries between work and personal life while working from home? It's really a balancing act, and we're all trying to figure that out as we go. So let's talk about some helpful tips that lead to a productive work from home experience. And this is really an open forum. We aren't experts. We have just pulled together and did some research, and we're also offering some tips that we ourselves use and have gotten from other folks. So everyone has challenges. Some of the main challenges that we face, whether we're newbies or we're seasoned to working from home, we all have challenges. Lack of proper equipment, inadequate workstation, no schedule or routine, distractions, managing kids, learning new equipment and software, and different communication styles. Remember that the same frustrations that you're feeling about being quarantined and having to adjust is the same thing your kids are feeling, your partners, and your neighbors. So we're all in this together, that we've all heard a million times, but we really are all in this together. So some of the solutions that we have come up with are outlined here, but we'll go more into detail on the following slides. Oops, sorry.
All right, next.
All right, Angela, you're up next. Thanks.
Great. Thank you so much, Misty, for that introduction. And welcome, everybody. We'll go to the next slide. So one of the hardest things about working from home is keeping a healthy work-life balance. And this is where having a dedicated workspace can help set you up for success. So it's important that we all have the mindset of going to work rather than waking up, grabbing your laptop, laying on the couch. And I'm not saying anyone does this, of course. However, having a dedicated workspace is a way you can sit down and say, I'm at work now. So getting ready for the day is half the battle. You know, I choose to get dressed, semi-comfortable clothes, putting on a touch of makeup, fixing my hair. You know, this really helps me get into the mood of having a work face, and especially when meeting via live Zoom and Blue Jeans communication tools in the various daily and weekly meetings that I've been attending. And having a designated workspace that has minimal distractions is key. Natural lighting is ideal, but if this isn't possible, maybe a lamp is good. Having outlets in reach, you know, pretty plants, diffuser, you know, some nice personal touches would be good. Okay, thanks, Misty. So some of the things that we have to take into consideration is having a laptop, desktop. We're going to talk about how to make sure your workspace is set up with the proper equipment. Many of us have been working remotely for 18 months, so you should have most of your equipment supplies is productive. If you aren't set up with equipment, you need to give your supervisor a call. Most of us are used to working with multiple monitors. If you're working from home on a laptop, look getting one or more monitoring offices if I had a 24-inch RCA TV. I plugged it in. It created an extra screen. If you use a laptop, make sure it's set up so that you're not bending over and looking at it. You know, you're naked, so it needs to be at eye level. You push it up on top of a stack of books.
Hey, Ange.
And
Yes.
Wait.
your audio, you might want to stop your video. Your audio is really choppy. I think it might be fighting for bandwidth with your video. Sorry.
And tell everybody you found me to get off of Netflix.
I'm not on Netflix.
Save the bandwidth.
Sorry, I didn't know if that was me or you. So,
And you might
Okay.
want to just stop your video. That might help the audio.
Stop my video. I don't have a video. Let's see.
You're
I have
live.
no video.
Lower
I
left
have no
corner.
video.
Lower left
No.
corner.
Oh, okay. Got it. Got it. Can you hear me better?
Yep.
Excellent.
Yes.
Thank you so
She
much.
get them.
okay,
Yay.
what slide do you want me to be on?
Let's stay on this one. I'm going to just
Okay.
finish up a couple things. So,
Okay,
so if you're using a laptop, you know, you want to set it up so that it's raised up to eye level, because if you keep looking down, it's smaller versus your monitor, you get a sore neck. I didn't realize I was getting a sore neck. I didn't know why I was getting a sore neck, and I had to keep using my heating pad. But when I lifted my laptop after reading this tip online, I was amazed because I didn't realize I was injuring myself by looking down at my laptop, and my monitor was okay, but my laptop was the one that was causing my neck pain. So that was beneficial for me, was lifting my laptop up on books. And if you don't have a scanner or printer, there's apps out there. Misty says she uses an app called Scannable, and I checked it out, and you load it up on your phone and it's free, and it actually allows you to scan a document through your email. So that was beneficial. Next, yeah. So ergonomics, as I had mentioned earlier about my neck, is very important to maintain your health. Basically, remember that if you're working on a desktop, set it up so that you're able to keep a neutral position where your forearms, your wrists, and hands are in straight line. The top of your monitor should be at eye level or slightly below. And I've also attached a really good link to ergonomic trends for working at home. Next.
okay, wait, I want to add in on there. And
Oh, yeah,
make
go
sure,
ahead.
just because you're working at home doesn't mean that you should just be sitting like on a bench or a stool or whatever. It's really important to have a good chair. So I don't know if you can take your chair from your office, but just make sure that you're sitting on something that supports you.
Thanks, Misty. Yeah, so it's also really important to remember to stretch, to stop and stretch using a poorly designed workspace or a chair that's not suitable, you know, or sitting for extended times causes strain and pain on your body, and muscle injuries, tension, wrist, back pain. And like I had mentioned earlier, I have a heating pad that I'll just throw in the microwave and throw it on my neck or my shoulder. But you got to remember to get up and stretch. And I've also attached a link to some really good stretches. But remember, we're at home, so we can get on the floor, touch your toes. And I really love this stretch that the woman is doing. And I did it myself the other day, and I was like, oh yeah, this is great. Just sitting and then actually twisting. It's really good. You guys got to try it. So next.
Sorry, that's mine.
There you go, Joyce.
The goal is to keep interruptions to a minimum. So set ground rules with other people in your home or who share your space with you. If you have children who are at home from school while you're still working, give them clear rules about what they can and cannot do during these times. And I know a couple of people said they had to talk to their children to, don't fight and do different things when they're on their Zoom. Discuss these ground rules with your family and ask for feedback. You could also create signals. This could be as simple as closing your office door or holding up a do not disturb sign when you're on the phone, or you're on a Zoom meeting. Setting up a working space for everyone who needs to work at home. Establish schedules so that everyone is aware of when you're working and should not be disturbed, and communicate that with everyone and be open to what your schedule is. Thank you. Utilize each other's strengths by asking family members to help with household tasks, such as maybe asking your child to water the house plants, wipe down the counters. I used to tell my kids to wipe down the baseboards, things like that. And ask your family to help you. Schedule fun breaks, such as creating a meal using canned goods, just canned goods, or taking a short walk around your neighborhood and naming everything that starts with a specific letter. Maybe you can all share something that you do that's kind of fun, to take a break with your family. Can you, on the chat, or just unmute yourself, and can you just call out some of the things that you might be doing to share with us? Regina, I know you have some great ideas.
Well, with routines and everything, what I do is I create a daily schedule for each family member, and I try and coincide it with my schedule and my husband's schedule. So if we have meetings, everybody's working on their computers at the same time. Everybody has their own devices, or like our 4-year-old sits at his desk and he does his homework there. Our 1-year-old will go ahead and watch educational videos on PBS at that time. So we kind of just try to pacify everyone so that we can work individually.
How about you, Melissa? Well, what are you guys doing? I see you're doing some really fun things.
Well, I try to do breaks regularly for hugs and kisses, because that's the main thing. So we have our hugs and kisses breaks, and I actually take those breaks, which I didn't always take at the office. So it's very helpful to me.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
And we have PE before I start work and PE after work. So we do a lot of stuff.
That's awesome. How about you, Luana? Do you do anything kind of like a fun break with your family?
Hi, sorry, trying to find the unmute. Yes, so we have a full house at home as well, including my 5-year-old granddaughter. So we do, like Melissa, we take breaks regularly so that I can devote some time to them. And then I have a dedicated time in the afternoon when I'm PA work, where we do our lessons together. We try to get outside a little bit. But yeah, definitely creating that balance and then having boundaries, which my granddaughter right now doesn't know because she just slammed the door.
Awesome. How about you, Sunny?
Not too much. We just try to all work at the same time and then have a finished point.
Thank you. And I noticed on the chat, Lilani saying she does yoga and stretching, she walks, and Misty, she has this needy cat, so she does stuff with her cat. So yeah, take some really fun breaks, and it'll help your family as well. Set up shared daily routines, such as eating meals together and then taking your breaks together. And most important is be kind and allow for adjustment and flexibility. Remember, there's always a learning curve. We kind of went through that, and the goal is to emerge as a stronger family. Next.
Thank you, Misty. Okay, everybody, this is Laureen. So my portion is talking about creating a routine and sticking to it. So before I took this position here at campus, I was actually self-employed and worked from home, remotely, virtually for many, many years. So it's something that I had to learn to do in the beginning as well. And one of the first things that you want to do is to create a daily operational plan In essence, what you want to do is create a plan that mirrors what you do at campus or at your office on campus, and it'll bring some routine that you did at campus. So create a daily operational plan, and very much like what Misty and Angela and Joyce have already stated, create a routine in the process. For example, create a morning routine. You might want to use the time that you would normally use commuting to work, like I do. I drive from Lahaina, and do something else. So personally, what I do is I wake up and actually do house chores and laundry, because if I don't, when I'm working during the day, those things are on my mind and it can become a distraction. So I use that time in the morning to get a little bit of exercise by running around the house and doing things like that. So creating a morning routine might include taking a shower, making some breakfast or a cup of coffee for yourself, and then having your daily operational plan handy for you as well. Create a checklist. That's very important. I usually create my checklist the day before. So at the end of my workday today, I'll look at what's on my calendar for tomorrow and create a checklist to help me be able to focus on tasks, which is the next item on the list, is to focus on your tasks. So the checklist helps you do that. It's easy for us to get distracted. So it's important that you have a mindset that helps you be diligent. If you're like me, the laundry, as I mentioned, the laundry and house chores gets me distracted. So I do all of that before the workday. So avoid social media, avoid trying to get laundry done or chores done or the dinner done until after. Try to plan around that, much like you would for your normal workday when you go to campus. And as everyone else said, schedule breaks. It's really important that you do schedule some breaks in there. Make sure you get up and move and stretch, and just even if it means, sometimes what I do is I go outside and sit on my picnic table for like 15 minutes and get some natural vitamin D, excuse me. So that's really important. And the last thing that I want to talk about is being flexible and being able to adapt to changes. Remember, everyone else is dealing with the same types of adjustments that you are in terms of working from home and trying to accomplish things that are not in the normal environment that you work in. So do your best to create that environment where you're at home, and be flexible to changes and adapt to how everyone else is adapting as well. That's gonna go a long way to maintaining joy and sanity and being there for your family, because they will also be dealing with it as well. And that's it. We can move on. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. I'm doing the one on communicating with your colleagues and administrators. And for this, just to make sure that you check in with your boss and your colleagues from time to time, weekly or as appropriate. And because we're not on campus, there's a lot of times you have questions and you reach out to your colleagues. And just remember, everybody is still available to answer those questions. And you know, you can email them or you can call them. Also, update them update your supervisors on your schedule, your deliverables, especially if there are changes. If you're required by HR to provide your supervisor reports on what you're working on, remember to save those, because in the past, I know the legislators, when budget is in the situation it is right now, they do request those reports. It's also equally important for supervisors to check in on their staff, not just to see what they're doing, but to see how they're doing. If they need anything, if they have any concerns or challenges or have any unmet needs. Are there any other things that anyone out there can think of that you need to do during this time?
I just wanted to add to make sure whatever you have in your background space is okay for the rest of the world to see. I've been in a lot of meetings, and sometimes you just kind of are taken aback by some of the things that you can see in a person's personal space. So just to keep that in mind.
That's a really good point, Angie. I know the other day I was on a meeting and my screen was upside down. So I was upside down during the meeting.
That was funny. Yeah, and to test your system before going on. Just so the other day, I'm having a big meeting on Friday with all of the security chiefs. So I went ahead and it was one of my first Zoom so I zoomed in all my security officers just to make sure, you know, at this level it's working well. So and it was a great practice. But yeah, to practice with, you know, just another friend or somebody before going on to the bigger world is a great thing to do too.
That's a great idea, Angie. Thank you.
Debbie, can I add something really quick?
Sure.
I have found also that in communicating with my staff that it's so important to have just start off first with how are they doing. So we do a daily check-in, all of us as a staff, like just a 20-minute check-in every morning. And then I have individual meetings with them. But just to start off with, how are you guys and how's it going? You know, really seems to take the weight off of them that many of them are carrying.
Yeah, it's such a stressful time, and I think just everybody needs to know that we all care and that, you know, we're looking out for them.
Hi everybody, Nicolette here. I'm going to present on adjusting to different communication styles. I was actually reading an article in Forbes, and it featured some information from a leadership coach named Mark Murphy, and he shared that there are 4 different leadership styles, and you can look and see a lot of different theories and frameworks for communication styles, but the communication styles that he identified are analytical, intuitive, functional, and personal. So actually thinking about how, you know, your colleagues, coworkers, whoever you're communicating with, everybody has a different communication style. So for example, analytical communicators really like data. They like details. I think I'm probably an intuitive communication, have a communication style that's intuitive. That's where you keep details to a minimum and it's more of a big picture thinking. The third is functional, where people are very process oriented and like to go step by step. And then the fourth would be personal, people that are really into building relationships, in which case you keep details to a minimum. So I think especially in you know, where we are now, we have different ways to communicate online, whether it's setting up a Zoom meeting, having a Google chat, or using the phone, and also of course via email. But just kind of thinking ahead of what kind of communication style, you know, your colleague has can, I think, help us better prepare and maintain our relationships during some of the stress of these times. Especially as we're working with different departments and different administrators and other faculty and staff, you know, using that daily communication tool of an email and thinking about how you can structure the communication. If somebody really just wants the details, focus on that, versus if somebody just wants a big picture, keeping your communication to a minimum. In our department, we're really finding that having quick Zoom meetings on a regular basis is very helpful for us. And then if we need to have a follow-up, you know, then we might do a phone call if someone, you know, has to go to a different room where they don't have access to their computer. In my case, we're actually scheduling meetings with our supervisor every 2 weeks. And that kind of gives a really good structure to be prepared for things that you need help with. So I think looking for a regular structure is a very helpful way to communicate during this time. Another thing we wanted to share is not letting emails kind of get out of hand. Sometimes it might be, hey, could we just have a phone call to, you know, potentially eliminate confusion that might come through in a lot of different email threads. And then it's actually great to share with others, what's your preferred method of communication? I actually have one of my team members who really does not want to receive any text messages. So I always communicate with him via email. And I have others, that's all they want to do is just have quick text back and forth so we can keep things moving. So, you know, I think one of the common themes that's coming through in all of these discussions is just being adaptable and, you know, having that empathy for what's going to work for other people. And one thing we just want to remind everybody is to make sure you're having your office line forwarded, and maybe to your cell phone if you don't want to give out your personal number, just making sure it's forwarding. Anybody have any thoughts that they want to share on different communication styles?
I'll share some of mine. This is Misty. For quick questions, I always tell whoever I'm in contact with, for if it's just a quick question, you can just Google chat me. And then as we go along, then if it needs to be a phone call, then I'll say, hey, can I give you a call? And also for emails, I always put at the bottom of my email, okay, if this is easier to discuss over the phone, just give me a call. Because I too don't like getting emails out of hand and then 25 emails later, then we finally pick up the phone call when we could just have done that in the first couple of emails. So yeah, but getting to know what the communication style is of the person that you're talking to is very helpful, and sharing how you like to be communicated with. So thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Hi everyone, it's Regina. It's my turn. There's gonna be some drilling in the background, so let me know if you can't hear me. I'll ask one of the other co-hosts to take over because I'm actually in my office trying to get some work done because I don't have resources at home to do this. Part of making and adapting to your work environment. But for me, we're gonna go over practice self-care, coping with the work at home order. So practice self-care, basic self-care will keep your immune system strong and your emotional reserves full. So get enough sleep, exercise regularly, and eat well. Try mindfulness apps. I know there's some new ones out there now. What I do is I usually use essential oils. I diffuse that like crazy throughout my house, depending on the person in the room. Engage in different activities that activate your physical state, like high intensity workouts. My husband and I wake up every morning about 5:30, 6 o'clock to do that before the house wakes up and before we have to start work. That helps for us to kind of get our energy bursts out, just like the kids. Occupy your mind with puzzles. That's always a good one. Engage your senses with hot baths or fragrant candles. Like I said, what I usually do is we'll diffuse essential oils while we do like little yoga or meditation is always strongly recommended. The next thing is you could always use your employee assistance program. Now I have the link available. If you guys want to email me, I can email it to you. That would probably better answer your questions about this program, but it is a very good program that's accessible to all of the employees here at UH. The next one on the list is find ways to focus. So we can establish a routine, get up, go to bed, and do your work all at the same time of the day, like we've been kind of saying throughout this presentation. Or change your schedule daily to adapt to the different needs of your boss or your environment, because you just never know what could happen the next day. Frequent breaks, like we said earlier, can help you re-engage in your work. Another thing is to try to create a separate workspace. So like we said earlier, although you should reserve your sleeping area for sleeping, this will help to create that separate workspace from that area. If family members are distracting you, use I statements to explain the problem. Like I'll tell my kids, I'm worried I won't be able to complete my work on time, so can we, and then we'll figure out the resolution for that. Seeking out social support, that is something that is very fun to do. And okay, so if you're if you have that loneliness of staying at home, to combat isolation, you can come together with your family, friends, or colleagues via technology. So I've seen people post on Facebook all the time how they're getting together with their friends on Zoom, and they're all talking in these little boxes on the screen, so that way they still can communicate and they still stay in touch and check on each other. Like they said earlier with Luana, you know, it's nice to check on other people. That's another way of doing that. You can even something as simple as turning on your webcam. There's a drilling again. I'll try and quickly finish during the virtual meetings, and this will help you connect to others. So if anybody has any questions, I think that was it. And I'll turn it over to Nicole again.
Thanks, Regina. So thinking about how do we cope with working from home? You know, I think one thing that helps is actually helping others, and just staying connected with our family members and other colleagues that maybe we're not working with on a daily or regular basis, but just staying in touch with them. I know it was actually really great for me to reconnect with this team from our professional development committee. So I think staying connected with any of the other campus committees or initiatives that you're a part of. And if you see, hey, we haven't had a meeting since this started, that might be a great way to reconnect with everyone and, you know, keep things moving forward in positive ways, so that we don't feel alone and kind of get stuck in, you know, wherever we are. We're also don't have to try to fix everybody's problems. You know, even just acknowledging each other, and, you know, whatever challenges we're facing, helps people cope and not feel alone. And if there's anything work related, you know, just really know that our supervisors want to be there for us. That's actually the first thing that I always hear when I have my kind of one-on-one meeting with my supervisor. It's just that sense of caring and making sure that we're okay before we get into all the work stuff. So I think that's a really important part of any of us coping with the stress of this. A big part of, I think, what we're all dealing with is kind of that constant media barrage, whether it's Facebook, the news, and you know, any other ways that we get exposed to media. So, you know, one way is to just really consciously limit that media exposure. We're on devices pretty much all day now. So whether it's taking breaks or thinking about how can you stay informed through reputable and reliable sources like Center for Disease Control and World Health Organization, as well as whatever national and local news that is your preference. One thing that's really worked for me is we'll watch the news in the morning, kind of get a national news source, and then in the evening we'll watch the local news and kind of get the latest local updates. The mayor's been doing, you know, his regular briefings. So kind of giving a little structure to how much media you're exposing yourself to. I know I'm trying not to go on during the day so that I don't get distracted by that. And then I think finally, you know, just focusing on remaining positive. If you're kind of aware of people are not following the social distancing rules, there's kind of an opportunity for us to lead by example. I actually was sick for 2 weeks, and Kaiser wouldn't test me because I never had a fever. I pretty much had all the other symptoms, and it started with pink eye, but I was never able to be tested because I didn't have a fever. So for myself, I just set those boundaries. I didn't go, I self-isolated for 14 days, and then a week after that I felt better. So, you know, just what you can do by leading from example, I think is how we can be more in control, you know, what we can do during this time. And then, you know, really just recognizing that we can only control our own thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. So us staying positive for others is important. I know even when I wasn't feeling well, I still just was trying to be a role model for my son, and stay positive, feeling grateful that I didn't have a serious case, if that's what it was, and coming out that other side. Anyone else have any thoughts to share on coping with the work from home? Okay, thanks. Next.
This is Kelly. No comments. Everything is pretty good. You guys blew me away. There's some tips. Misty's tip, you know, that's really cool. I like that. I'm doing that right now. I'm gonna kind of make that a best practice. Thanks, everybody. Great job.
Thanks, Kelly. Thanks, everyone. Any other questions? If not, I'll be calling Tony Rusk, and she's already on the Zoom call. All those who are HGEA members are welcome to stay, of course, and then supervisors also, supervisors and administrators. So in a couple of minutes, yes.
Can I interrupt real quick just before you guys move into that? Because I'm gonna leave at that point. I just wanted to make a suggestion, maybe a workshop on self-care ideas, and we could share or get into some specifics about self-care. That was just a thought.
Awesome. I think that's
We do a cooking one.
You know, I've been trying to get some cooking people to culinary people. So hopefully we can.
I'd love to do like a
make that
wellness
happen.
cooking day, like evening, and then we all kind of just prep the same ingredients, or I don't know.
That's a great
What's in your
idea.
fridge? How much spam you get, and what can we do?
Well, Chris is on the line. Maybe Chris, can you help us with that?
Like, show me your pantry. What can I make?
Here? I can talk to you about that.
Okay, awesome.
Okay.
Luana, this is Kelly. Can you share about your weekly self-care challenge with your staff?
Oh, sure. So on Mondays, all of us share a goal that we have for self-care that week. So maybe it's, I'm going to exercise 3 times this week. I'm going to take a walk every other day, whatever it might be, anything that makes you feel good and is good for your well-being. So it could be anything that does that for you. Meditation, whatever it might be. So we share our goal, and then on Friday when we check in, we hold each other accountable, and we check to see if everyone did their self-care goal for that week. And if they didn't, then we encourage them to do it over the weekend. So there's a nice accountability when we do it that way.
Oh, I love that. Thank you for sharing.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. We're glad that you could be a part of our professional development tips on how to work from home event today. I thank everybody here. Earlier, I think we had about 34 participants, and now we're down to 21 for this special piece. So I hope we've helped those that stayed on, and I had fun.
Okay, thank you so much for inviting me. And again, you guys have my emails. If anything, definitely you can send me an email if you have questions. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. Take care. Be safe.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.